following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Talkin' Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
First down. Handoff. Elliott plowing to the goal line. Barry, sacked by Lawrence. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
Here are Mickey Spagnola, Brian Broaddus, Rob Phillips, and Bill Jones.
And welcome into Talkin' Cowboys inside the SWBC Mortgage Studio from the Star in Frisco. I am Rob Phillips. I'm joined, as always, by Mickey Spagnola, Brian Broaddus. Across the table from me, Bill Jones will be back tomorrow to wrap up the week as the Cowboys finish up their prep for those Miami Dolphins Sunday noon kickoff at AT&T Stadium. How are you, gents?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. If you go back and listen to yesterday's show, there were some hints. There were some possibilities that Taco Charlton would not be on this roster at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, and that turned out to be the case to get Robert Quinn on the roster, and that's the top storyline today. We can start there, but there's other things we need to get into with this roster right now and maybe talk about some key matchups with the Dolphins as well over the next 45 minutes. We'll take your calls as well, 888-855-2297. Brian is monitoring Periscope as well.
Thank you. Good morning. Yeah.
So news comes down. Taco's no longer on this roster. Anything else come up that you guys got on why, what the impact is for this team for this week and beyond as well?
Well, I think if you follow the logic that we were talking about yesterday, the fact that he had a guaranteed base salary, the fact that they had injuries on the defensive line and they needed all hands on deck, and the fact that he was a first-round draft choice, the logic said, well, they're going to keep him. But their level of dissatisfaction with him was so high that it wiped out all the logic we pointed out of why you should keep him. And I think that spoke volumes about how he did not fit on this team, did not fit in the locker room, and most of all, didn't fit in that defensive line meeting room to the point where they were like, okay, we're washing our hands of this. We've talked about it long enough. We spent enough energy trying to figure it out, make it work. It was time to take out the eraser and move on.
Yeah, well said. I mean, that's exactly, everything that you feel like would be logical, the injury, the money situation, all that just did not matter to them, and I know there was a couple days ago that I was like, I move on. And then I'm like, no, wait a minute, need to think about this the logical way, that what Mickey was talking about, and I even asked Jason Garrett about that in the walk-off, about the situation with Taco, the injury and all that. And he says, no, these are conversations you have, but we felt like this was the best thing for our organization moving forward. So coaches, scouts, everybody on board for to move on and to eat, $4.5 million worth of money, and then turn around and say, okay, he needs a fresh start. We need a fresh start, and we'll do with what we have. Kerry Hyder and Dorrance Armstrong and all those guys. Joe Jackson. We feel good about them, and we're just going to push forward. So this says a lot about their decision. It says a lot about what they thought about the player. And for them to move on the way they have it's a big move. It's a bold move, because there's a lot of things here that says you need to keep this guy to try and make it work. And if you just look at the eye test, there were things that were some positivity, when you watch some practices and when you watch the games, but to them, that really didn't matter. Maybe it mattered to us, but to them, that didn't matter. And they're the ones ultimately that have to play the games. They have to find a way to win these games in order to keep their positions and their jobs and stuff. So they're always going to do what they feel like is the best in their mind, not what Brian Broaddus thinks, but what's the best in their mind. And so, I applaud them, because I'm one of these guys that believes that if you don't evaluate your team correctly, you'll never be good. Your team will never be good if you misevaluate your team. Trust me, I've been on teams where we misevaluated our personnel and stuck with guys way too long, and it doesn't work. You get worse that way. And they felt like with Taco that they can move on and they would all be better for it. And again, that's on them. And, hey, their decisions have been pretty spot on about players. And, if you want to say they keep burning through first-round picks, that's not the case at all at this organization.
That's what made the move so surprising because of how well they have drafted for several years with Will McClay running that draft room. Of course, Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones involved in that as well. Mick, I think you had it in your mix shots yesterday, the last time this happened before a first-round pick with this team
this
reached
early.
the end of his deal. Yeah.
This early. At least not get into your fourth year, and not because of injury. You have to go back to Rod Hill in 1982. He was a first-round draft choice. He played 2 years for the Cowboys, and they moved on. And I think this is one of those things where you've heard this before. You don't want to make two mistakes. The first mistake is, okay, I drafted this guy. The second mistake is, I'm going to write it as far as I can write it.
A lot of people will do that. A lot of organizations will do that. Yeah.
They won't admit the mistake, and then you make a second mistake. And I think some of this, I just think it had to do with you have a sulking player with it paired with a defensive coordinator, defensive line coach who's all about heart and effort. And
does he love football?
Toughness.
Being all in.
Yeah.
And the last thing, and if he can't get through to a guy who's sulking, and you got this feeling he was sulking, and this wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. Let's remember the end of last year. He was inactive in 4 games in the second half of the season on a team that was playing well. So there had to be a reason for that too. And it wasn't like they had all this depth at defensive end. So again, this was a compilation of a lot of things going on, and they just decided, okay, time to move on. And as Jason said, I don't hate him.
Yeah.
Give him a chance to go somewhere else, and maybe he can jumpstart his career.
Yeah, Will McClay will wear this one. If you want to give Will McClay credit for what they've done and stuff like that, Will McClay will wear this one. Most really good personnel guys do. These are the ones that hurt, though. When you felt like that, hey, we went through this process, we felt like we did the right thing. But now you go back and evaluate, okay, what were we thinking about this particular player? What did we see in this particular player? Did we feel like that we could make him tougher? Was he not tough when he came in? All these things kind of now play in your mind not to let it happen again. But Will McClay will wear this one, and you know what? He won't back down from it. And I respect organizations that wear their mistakes. You just can't make a lot of them because, again, you'll be doing something else for a living.
They did it with the wide receiver rotation midseason last year. We're not talking about draft picks, but just their personnel that they went with for half of last year. They decided
by committee was not good.
They decided this ain't working.
Yeah,
and they made a change. Rod Marinelli, it's always the first thing he always says, do you love football when he's evaluating a player? I think Taco loves football. I do. I think he took to social media in part because he wanted out. He wanted to play somewhere. He's going to get his opportunity. Brian mentioned $4.5 million in dead money over the next 2 years. Mick mentioned, I think it's $1.38 million over 2 years in base salary that they've got to eat.
No, it's $1.38 for this year.
For this year.
If somebody doesn't
claim him.
He's not claimed.
Right.
Yes.
And then $480,000 more next year is guaranteed. And then, the prorated signing bonus still counts. So you don't get away from that either.
One more thing on Taco. Nick Eatman spoke to Stephen Jones yesterday about the move. He said, quote, sometimes the chemistry doesn't work with a player. With Rod, he has certain standards that he looks for in a player. I just don't think they ever saw eye to eye in terms of what that standard should be. So that's in line with what you guys are saying. And this does fall in line with, I think, Brian, you hinted at it, for this week going forward. And maybe, for beyond this week, they've got some injuries on the defensive line, and it's looking like it's not looking great for week 3 for a couple of these guys as they get back to practice today.
Yeah, and one last thing on Taco. So it was kind of pointed out to me that pick came out of thin air. And so when I went back and looked at the draft order, and I was wondering, because they were in the market for a cornerback, and the pick before them was how do I say it?
Tre'Davious White.
Tre'Davious White from LSU.
Right, went to Buffalo.
And I'm wondering, did they have their heart set on that? And then it was like, okay, we got to do a U-turn here.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you get stuck on something that you think's coming and you don't get it, then it's like, oh, what the hell do we do?
Same draft, though. They got Cheeto and Lewis. Am I right about that?
Yeah, but I'm thinking if you would have, you wouldn't have taken Cheeto in the second if you took White in the first, right?
Yeah, I think they were in a situation, though, too, Mickey, where they were looking at this and they thought that they could grab Cheeto and they could grab
and get both.
And they said they forced the issue on the defensive end.
Right.
If you remember, Tack McKinley went to Atlanta, a pick before them as well. And that was a guy that they brought in on a 30 visit and stuff like that. So they felt like, I believe if my history is correct, and I've played a couple of games without a helmet, so sometimes my memory goes. But that was one of those deals where they felt like that they could stretch the corner draft but not stretch the defensive end draft. And, when they were picking too, it likely was a second-round player on their board. I know he was drafted in the first round, but much like with Travis Frederick, he was a second-round player on their board. So, there were players ahead of him clearly, but they said, okay, it's going to come down to McKinley or Taco, and they lost the one guy, and they said, okay, let's go ahead and hit this defensive end here, and then we could rally and get the corners maybe later in the draft because we felt like the position stretched a little bit better.
And if I remember correctly, and I haven't been hit in the head without a helmet, Randy Gregory is in no man's land at that time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He missed the whole 2017 season.
Right.
And then got reinstated at the last moment in 2018. So defensive end had become a priority. And unfortunately for him, they're drafting 28th.
Yeah, some of the biggest issues you have is when you try and force the issue. And we had those days happen in the early
Shante Carver.
Yeah, we've had those days happen many a time in the early 2000s. I know working with the Dave Campo administration that we tried to force players, and it's not it's not the best way to go. It's you trust your board, you evaluate your board. I'll always remember Kendrell Bell, who we had a linebacker the first round on our board from Georgia. But, we get in the second round, he's still on the board, but we take Quincy Carter. That was one of those things where you had a first-round guy on your board. Just go ahead and take him and find a way to kind of go get you a quarterback if you have to. But that's totally water under the bridge right now. Will McClay, this group, you have to have faith in them that they'll go back, they'll look at that, they'll evaluate what happened in that draft, and it will remind them, it said, okay, we tried to do this before. Stephen Jones is excellent at doing this, is making everybody in that room accountable for the picks that are made. And so he'll ask the right questions. Will McClay will have answers for him. And, hopefully they won't have the situation with what happened with Taco and go down that road again, and they'll continue to draft well like they have.
All right, so what I was alluding to earlier is that...
Yeah, we went around it. You're talking about injuries.
He could have helped them numbers-wise
because of Crawford
in this football game.
Sure.
And Antoine Woods as well. Mick, what's the status of some of these guys on defense?
Yeah, I don't think Crawford's playing.
No, he's not.
And just kind of testing the temperature of Antoine Woods, I don't think he's going to make it back in time either. So you're going to see Tristan Hill.
Yep.
We're going to find out what Christian Covington is. But the worst part with the Crawford thing is you're losing two spots.
Right.
You're losing your starting defensive end, and you're losing your defensive tackle who can slide inside on nickel situations. So you're going to need two guys to replace one. And that's never good when you're down to 46 guys active.
Maybe three guys to replace one.
Yeah,
just going back to Crawford.
He can do both tackle positions.
I asked about Crawford, and I said, is this a setback of what he had, what they worked on all training camp? And the answer was no. It's a different issue. It's nothing but overuse of an issue with both his hips. He had it last year about mid-season. They're calling it bursitis is what they're calling it. So he's dealing with a little bit of that right now. So to Mickey's point, though, and Rob's point, you're talking about Tristan Hill playing the under tackle. That means maybe Malik Collins is going to have to kick over and play a little one, because if they rush the passer, they're not going to have Christian Covington in there all the time. He might get in there a little bit. So Quinn was taking the majority of the reps with the first team yesterday, talking to some folks. So the fact that he had an off season, got some training camp in, is a little bit different of a situation than what Crawford and what Lawrence had. So he's out there with the ones, and they're going to have to find a way to rotate that right defensive end over there to give him the opportunity to not play the whole entire game. But they do have some players over, like say Armstrong, Hyder, guys like that. We're going to see Hyder and those guys get a lot of work inside as well as we go through this game.
It did sound like Robert Quinn had a good practice yesterday. Brian alluded to the fact I think he was on the field for almost a couple weeks in camp before he did break the bone in his left hand.
We were going to Hawaii, weren't we? It was the week before we left for the Hawaii trip.
It was about a week before.
Yeah, he broke his hand like on a Wednesday, Thursday practice. Or a bone in the hand, and then we were all and then all of a sudden the suspension stuff started coming down and all that.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think he played in the opener, though. I think it was before the opener.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's gone through all the offseason. He said his hand feels all right.
Yeah.
He did have a brace on it, I believe, in practice yesterday, and he's hoping to not play with it, but it sounds like he's in good shape and he's ready to go. He was training, I think, nearby, off-site, obviously.
Michael Johnson performance, because he can't.
Good spot, Olympian. Yeah.
And he had his helmet and shoulder. But still,
it's not the same.
He has not done anything in a month on a football field. And I'm told that they're going to kind of treat him the way they treated Lawrence in that first game. And Lawrence, 32 snaps, I think you said yesterday.
Yep.
And so that's half the game.
Yeah.
So those other guys that Brian mentioned, which will take away from how much they can possibly spell Lawrence.
Right.
Because you don't want to go too many snaps with Lawrence off the field and Quinn off the field, and you're out there with. And they did it in this last game.
Yeah.
Armstrong one side, Kerry Hyder the other side. But I don't know how many snaps you want to do that.
Yep.
All right, let's take our first. Oh, you got something else?
No, I was just going to, if we could get back to it, this is going to be an interesting game. We get into the matchups because of how many Dallas starters are not playing in this game. And I think that's a great equalizer if you're thinking about how the Dolphins are going to match up.
Let's talk about some of those matchups when we come back. And we've got two callers holding, so we'll get to both of those right out of the break next on Talkin' Cowboys.
Your new apartment's big. Such a great deal.
It's okay.
Just okay? What's not too...
Right above the subway!
Well, I bet you don't even notice it after the...
That's my neighbor, Angus!
A deal that's just okay is not okay. Get a great deal with America's Best Network. Come into an AT&T store and learn how to buy one smartphone and get a second one on us. Based on GWS 1 score, September 2018.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with sideline access and photo ops with current players, alumni, and cheerleaders. That's not all, though. You'll get to talk X's and O's with Senior Director of Player Personnel Will McClay, and of course with yours truly, me, Brian Broaddus. You can trust the official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and with us, you'll travel like a pro. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Work the Cowboys way and channel the winning business tradition of the Dallas Cowboys and the Jones family at Formation. This dynamic workspace provides an elevated work experience on the Star's aspirational campus with exclusive membership options available to meet varying needs. Choose from open workspaces, dedicated desks, and private offices to leverage our home field advantage for your individual business success. Limited memberships are available now, so apply today at formationatthestar.com.
A man's Stetson doesn't just protect him from life's elements. It projects an unstoppable and legendary spirit, just like the men wearing silver and navy on the field every Sunday. Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. They are still the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find Stetson hats in the Pro Shop or at Stetson.com today.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Don't miss your chance to see the Cowboys live at AT&T Stadium on Sunday, September 22nd, as they take on those Miami Dolphins. Get your tickets now at DallasCowboys.com. Welcome back to Talkin' Cowboys inside the SWBC Mortgage Studio. Talking a lot of taco. A lot of taco in the first segment. Yes.
Soda, I can't eat tacos.
You can't?
I can't eat tacos.
And I'm so proud
I miss
of
tacos.
you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
How much you down since you started?
40 pounds.
Look at that.
Appreciate that, though.
Yeah, but no tacos.
No tacos. I miss Mickey's Pizza.
That's right.
Mickey keeps talking pizza and Italian beef sandwiches and stuff.
The big start talking lasagna and pasta, too.
Some carbs.
That's right.
Anything worth doing in life, you got to sacrifice a little.
Little bit.
Way to go, Brian.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Do you guys want to grab some phone calls?
Absolutely.
Let's start with Brian in Jacksonville. You're up first today on Talkin' Cowboys.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, so it looks like we caught a little bit of a break with some of these injuries popping up. The NFL gods have kind of smiled on us. We've got Miami on the schedule this week and a Saints team that's going to play without Drew Brees in the week after that. Of these injuries with Antoine Woods and Xavier and Gallup and Crawford, it sounds like, from what I keep hearing in all the coverage, they're talking 2, 3, 4 weeks for all of them. Can you guys give me an idea of, are you at all concerned that any of these are going to nag and stretch on beyond that? And are you concerned about the Green Bay game with this sudden pile-on of injuries that we've had? And I'll hang up and listen. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Brian.
Crawford. That's the one I'm concerned about.
I'm concerned about the Dolphins game.
Oh, I am too. But I'm concerned about Crawford.
Yes.
If you ask about of all those,
right?
Mickey, if you follow Mickey on Twitter, which you should absolutely do, he told you, national reports were talking about 4 to 6 weeks for Woods being Xavier Woods. He was out on the cords the other day, and I reached out to somebody on the medical staff and said, well, I tell you what, that kid's moving around pretty good already. He says, yeah. He goes, I don't know where they get this 4 to 6 stuff.
Look, we saw him, Mickey and I did, leaving the locker room, walking to lunch.
He was walking faster than us.
He looked
he might be lining up.
Walks better than I do.
He might be walking. He might be lining up next week against the Saints.
Yeah.
So
he was walking better than Rob.
Yeah. So and you talk about
inside joke.
You talk about the wide receiver. Gallup.
That's 2 to 4.
That's 2 to 4. But I hearing more on the 2 side than the 4 side.
Yeah.
On that. The one, again, if you talk about something that could be just nagging, is Crawford. Crawford, we talked about the bursitis. It's in the hip. It's something he's probably going to have to play through. They played through it last year. And then, so that would be the one that, to me, he's probably not going to practice on a weekly basis. They're going to have to figure out how to manage him and then get him to the game and then hope that some of these young guys, hope that Hyder or Armstrong or these guys show up, Quinn, and show up and kind of
Hill inside.
Give him a little break to where he doesn't have to play 54 snaps or 50 snaps or 48 snaps. That's your hope, right? That's the concern for me. Everybody else, I think, can be fine. I worry about an injury like that just being long-term for him.
And you know what? And for bursitis, it's not like you can do a surgery to solve that.
It hurts.
And so, that's something they're going to have to monitor.
Yeah.
I think
he's a tough dude, though.
Oh, he is really
tough. He'll try to.
Yeah, he'll get it out.
Yeah,
I think from the Woods, I think Antoine might be a little worse than Xavier from what I've seen,
right?
But not as bad as normally when you sprain your MCL, it's 2 to 4. I think he's on the shorter end of that. Because he's moving well. They've given him the stem treatment and all that stuff, and he's kind of a tough guy too. Remember,
absolutely.
He tore his rotator cuff in that playoff game against the Rams in the first quarter, and he played through the game. So
he told us yesterday he's feeling a little better.
Yeah,
but he's getting a lot of treatment on it. We'll see what happens.
And Tavon, it's hard to just figure out him. I mean, it's like now he's still in concussion protocol, but it wasn't a concussion that showed up during the game or right after the game. It was 2 days later he comes in and I ain't feeling right. That one's kind of concerning, only because with maybe Randall Cobb playing more snaps, even if they're not in 3 wide, he may not be returning punts. And now you got Cedric Wilson. That's like almost a starter.
Would they need to make another roster move like they did last week?
I don't think they can.
Because you've got, without Tavon, if he doesn't play this week, and Jason Garrett said he's improving. But
who are you going to bring up?
Well, you have another receiver on the practice squad. I'm just asking if it's a possibility. I don't think you want to keep making moves and having to deplete your depth elsewhere.
Right.
But
the problem they're going to guys, I personally feel like they're going to get in 12 personnel this game. If you go back and watch them, the way that the Ravens and the Patriots handled Miami, they had a hard time. The safeties had a hard time for the Dolphins covering tight ends. I think the Ravens have got two really good tight ends, and of course the New England doesn't have Gronkowski anymore, but they're capable the way they were throwing the ball, But I could see them getting in more 11 personnel, or 12 personnel, and then finding a way to use, if they get in 11, Devin Smith, Cobb, and Cooper. But they could also use Pollard. They could use Olawale if they have to on some stuff to get him as like a wing and H and let him be involved. But I would keep an eye on how much 12 personnel they play in this game and try and take advantage of the safety play for the Dolphins, or the lack of the safety play. Now with no Mika Fitzpatrick in there as well.
And you can throw the ball to Zeke a little bit more.
Absolutely.
They haven't really exposed that, trying to cut down on how many touches he has, but I'm sure he's full go now. So there's ways to work around it, but when you're counting the starters that will miss this game, and if I count Tavon as a punt returner, it's like 4.5 starters are out of this game.
Not hard to potentially figure out these inactives this week.
This is where Mickey makes a good point for me, because I feel like that I just listed the guys that are backups playing this game. Devin Smith, Cedric Wilson, Kerry Hyder, Tristan Hill, Robert Quinn, I think that
Darien Thompson.
Yeah, exactly. Christian Covington, Darien Thompson, Dorrance Armstrong. That's a great equalizer right there. All those guys I named are going to have to play prominent roles in what you're doing in this football game. So, to me, that's where this game, if you want to talk about an equalizer, are the Cowboys a better team than the Dolphins? Absolutely they are. But if you're the Cowboys, you need Smith, Wilson, Hyder, Hill, Quinn, Covington, Thompson, and Armstrong to play really well in this game. You do. You need them to, you need them to step up. You're going to need even, we talked about, the tight end play and stuff, the backup tight ends. They're going to have to play well in this game for the Cowboys to. I'm not saying have a chance, because I think they could beat the Dolphins, but I think this game, with all the backups that are having to play, might be a little bit closer than people think.
Let's grab another phone call real quick before we get to our second break. Nebby, our buddy in Silver Springs, Maryland, you're up next on Talkin' Cowboys.
Hi, guys. Who's going to fill in for Xavier Woods while he's recovering from his high ankle sprain? And I just want to say that we've got to put away the Miami Dolphins early because the longer they hang around, the more dangerous they are going to be. Take care. Thanks for being patient with me, and have a great week.
Thanks, Neb. Well said.
Neb. Yeah.
I think you guys mentioned Darien Thompson.
I think
the thing they like the most about him, and Jason Garrett spoke to this a little bit this morning, is he's kind of he can be the quarterback back there. He can get guys lined up. He knows how to diagnose things as the free safety.
They need him to make plays, though, too.
Yeah.
I mean, Xavier Woods goes out there and makes plays, makes physical plays. So Thompson is going to play a lot of single high likely, and then, and you're going to get Jeff Heath down low trying to do some things well there. Again, does that mean that Donovan Wilson, who is healthy, he got some reps with the twos yesterday? Does he get an opportunity before, say, before Kayvon Frazier? That's we saw a lot of good things from Donovan Wilson playing coverage and being around the football. But, is this an opportunity for him to show the coaches, much like what Devin Smith did last week, showed the offensive coaches that he's a capable replacement, if he has to go in these games, which he will this week.
Donovan Wilson will be a full-time special teams player.
No question.
Because of Darien Thompson, who's your special teams player, has now got to play 60 snaps on defense. He can't play all the special teams.
Right.
So I would expect Wilson to be active in taking part in all those special teams. Maybe he gets a snap or two, but, you're always hesitant the first time you play a rookie to put him in such a prominent spot. And I keep hearing this, If somebody's 80%, maybe you don't play them, you save them for the Saints game. There's no saving in the NFL.
No.
There's no saving.
Preseason.
This Dolphin team,
not regular season.
This Dolphin team's going to be dangerous because, number one, where they started, they got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Right? So they come in swashbuckling. If I'm the head coach, it's a 4-down offense, right?
Yeah.
Why do I got to punt?
This is Mickey, I appreciate you saying this.
This worries you, Brian, a little bit.
No, I appreciate him saying this because if I'm the Miami Dolphin, that's exactly how I damn feel right now.
And I'm slinging it downfield, and maybe I get interference.
At least challenge it for interference.
And Nebby's right, because the longer they hang in the game, and they were in the game the first half against the Patriots.
They were.
Right?
Yeah.
So the longer they hang in, they're sitting there going, okay, yeah, we can play. Yeah. And that's the last thing you want. You want to take them out early and give them a pillow to put their head on and be nice and comfortable.
Yeah.
Mickey always say it, the more you lose in the NFL, the closer you are to winning.
And they're, I don't remember what the score was at halftime, but it was close.
I appreciate him saying that because to me, I think this is really about, like I said, the great equalizer is a lot of backups are playing for your football team. Now, if the backups pass the test, the Cowboys win this football game. But the thing that worries me is Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
They've got Parker. He could be a vertical player. They'll 50-50 ball him all day. But I just worry about, because what's the one thing we haven't really seen consistently from this Cowboys defense that we kind of nitpick on a little bit?
Pass rush.
Look at you both say at the same time.
They did a better job in the run game last week.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're Fitzpatrick and you make him feel somewhat comfortable throwing the football in this game, he could throw the ball 50 times and he doesn't care. He'll throw 4 interceptions. He doesn't care. That's just his attitude. That's the way he plays. That's the biggest danger. And Brian Flores, the head coach, what if he says, okay, yeah, we're going to go for it on all these 4th downs. Yeah, we're going to onside kick. Yeah, we're going to fake punt. Yeah, we're going to, he's got to find ways to get his players back on board because obviously with all the changes the front office is making, there is a lot of players in that locker room looking at each other going, am I next?
Yeah,
am I next?
Robert Quinn was asked yesterday if he's had contact with any of his former teammates. He said, well, a lot of them are gone.
Yeah.
They're not there anymore.
Yeah.
Before we go to break, there are concerns, I think, obviously with the injuries on defense. The thing that makes me feel good, though, is offensively. The offensive line, up front has been so solid that I think, especially at home, too, they should be able to control things the way they're playing with Travis Frederick back in there. We'll see how that goes. Let's take our final break. When we come back, we got more phonage next on Talkin' Cowboys.
It can be hard to find the right resource for learning about important financial matters. You search how to build savings, you end up reading about the one weird ingredient from supermarkets that can make you taller. That's why Bank of America built BetterMoneyHabits.com, a safe little corner of the internet for answering your financial questions. Full of simple videos and tips, Better Money Habits can show you how to make the most of your money without resorting to random searches that always seem to lead to unbelievable photos of childhood stars grown up. To learn more, visit BetterMoneyHabits.com.
It's time for tailgating with the OtterBox boys.
The OtterBox that builds those crazy protective phone cases?
Yup, and now they're changing the side dish game with the OtterBox Trooper Soft Cooler. Lightweight, mobile, and leak-proof, Trooper is perfect for blitzing a crowded parking lot with a Frito pie.
Amazing. Hey, you think I could fit my 7-layer salmon salad into the Trooper cooler?
Yup, but please don't.
And that's been Tailgating with the OtterBox boys. Learn more about the Trooper Soft Coolers at OtterBox.com.
While a player could look good on paper, it's when he's out on the field that you really find out what he's made of. That's why the Cowboys rely on more than just stats and scouting reports when building their team. When picking a tractor, it's why you should rely on more than just specs and features. You've got to take it out and put it to the test. The Cowboys did when they named John Deere their official tractor. Experience one for yourself. Visit myjohndeeredealer.com/football.
Dr. Pepper is the one you crave. But how do you explain that craving?
Imagine a surging river of ice-cold Dr. Pepper, roaring with carbonated mists of desire. You're dangling above it, upside down, like a fishing lure in the wind. 23 flavors tickle your nose, but the river is too far away to taste. Dr. Pepper calls to you. You.
Now that is a Dr. Pepper craving. Dr. Pepper, the one you crave.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys? Jack Black. Right now you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
But no, the other things you can get from Jack Black if you go to getjackblack.com. Big things come in big packages. I told you yesterday about the limited qualities of the 33-ounce body lotion and beard lube.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes.
Beard lube.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, guess what? They've also got some 33-ounce Friends, the new Black Reserve Cleanser for body and hair. Also, the Turbo Wash Energizing Cleanser for body and hair. And how about this? The favorite of everybody on this staff, the all-over wash for face, hair, and body. 33 ounces of these things. So go to getjackblack.com.
Brian's nodding in confirmation. He loves it.
You know what? I'm a little disappointed, Mickey. You do such a great job as a spokesman for them. Yet to see any product, though. Like Wingstop's a sponsor of Nate Nims and Shannon
They're getting
Show.
wings?
They got wings. They got a bunch of wings delivered. So
hook us up when you.
I'm going to hook you up.
Yeah.
I just got to find time. You know what? This might be the most hectic 2.5 weeks to a start of the season I've ever seen.
There's no question.
It's been crazy. But don't forget Zeke 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Now that was.
But that
nuts.
was just one thing.
That's a lot of stuff.
But we went California to Hawaii to here, and all of a sudden it's just like, it's been a little crazy.
It's been a lot.
The other day, I remember I went home and I just said, you know what? I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit here.
Yeah,
I know.
Because it was like every time I'd go home,
I do that
was
at lunch
finish
here.
my work.
Just grab lunch and sit by
He's going to
myself.
sit.
We do love it, though. That's why we love it here.
By the way, I looked it up. So New England didn't score their second touchdown until there was like 2 minutes left in the first half.
Yeah.
So they led 13-0 at halftime because they missed the extra point.
Right.
13-0. It ended up, 49-0 or whatever the heck it was?
It was
43.
crazy.
43?
Yeah.
Okay, I made it worse than it was.
Yeah.
But at halftime, they were hanging in there. So, and the last thing the Cowboys need to do is turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And that'll fire up a 0-2 team.
Yeah, Periscope hates our analysis on this game.
Well, go ahead and bet the 21 then. And then talk to me on Monday.
There you go, Mickey. I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
2 quick phone calls before we get out of here. Corey in Amarillo, you're up next on Talking Cowboys.
Amarillo by morning. Corey.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hey, guys. How are y'all doing today?
Excellent. Good. What's up?
Hey, do you guys think that possibly Chris Richard's idea for his prototypical cornerback could be keeping Jordan Lewis playing behind Anthony Brown? I'm just thinking that because it seems like what you guys say, like the eye test, Jordan seems to show up and be there when he needs to be there and make those big plays. And I'm thinking specifically like the Saints game and some other stuff.
Sure.
And I mean, is his size keeping him back? Because I'm not dogging on Anthony Brown because I know how hard corner is, but seems like Jordan just seems to play better.
Yeah. You know what I was watching? Do you have another question, or was that the only one you got? Is that it?
The other thing I just wanted to comment, like Nebby said, I think we got to put them away fast this week.
There you go.
How slow Cowboys have been getting rolling.
Right.
Just I think Mickey said a while ago, we let these guys get ahead, they're going to get some steam rolling, and they're going to get positive, and, momentum in a game is a big deal.
Yep. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Corey.
I feel like, I'm just such a huge fan of Jordan Lewis. Not that I'm against Anthony Brown. And I thought, watching that game with Nate in the studio last week, I'm like, man, Anthony Brown is not playing well. And then I watched the tape. There was a couple plays that he was really bad on. But my perception of him just watching the game, and I know how you guys saw it live, was that he's missing tackles. He's not playing coverage well. But I was wrong about that. But I do think – I love how competitive Jordan Lewis is. I really do. I think he'll fight you every single breath he has. And I maybe that's why – and I don't know if it's Chris Richard saying, I'm just going to go with this guy because he's prototypically better looking. I just think he really trusts Anthony Brown that much. I don't think he feels like Anthony Brown has let him down. And Not that Jordan Lewis has let him down, but I just feel like that's probably why they're doing what they're doing. I don't think it has to do anything with his size. I just think the coach really, really trusts Anthony Brown, maybe a little bit more than Jordan Lewis.
He played well last year in that role.
And it is trust. And if you watch the entire game, there's sometimes Jordan Lewis gets lost out there.
Yeah.
And so I think the way they look at it has nothing to do with his size. It has to do with maybe the more snaps he gets, you start getting diminishing returns. And you got to be careful on that. It's like that second baseman that plays part-time, and you regulate his at-bats and he hits 280, and then all of a sudden you double his at-bats and now he's hitting 220.
Right.
So you got to be careful. He shows up in spots, but there's other times when he has to play more plays, I think he gets lost out there.
All right, real quick, one more. Lance in Philly, you're up next on Talkin' Cowboys.
Howdy, fellas.
Howdy.
Thought we were at the State Fair of Texas.
Brian, I just tweeted at you on Twitter.
Appreciate that.
Question. And I hate to take you in reverse. I tried to call earlier when you guys were talking about Taco, but the phone was busy. But back to Taco real quick. I wanted to get you guys' opinion. I remember when we drafted Taco, that was the year that Randy Gregory was suspended, I believe, for the year.
Yeah, Mickey was talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. And so I'm wondering if that was a necessity pick, because we're all scratching our head with the Taco thing. We passed up on T.J. Watt. But a necessity pick, and we've all haven't been super thrilled with Taco through the last couple of years, and now we let him go. I'm just wondering if that's what it was. Second question, I don't follow the Miami Dolphins that often. How do you think we're going to be able to run against those guys? Is that like a scary opposition, the front seven there? I know we're going to try to expose the safeties, but how are we going to be able to run against those guys?
All right.
Other than that, fantastic, guys. Talk to you.
Thanks, Lance. We kind of covered the first question real quick, Brian. How do you see that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys can find a way. Their front line, the offensive line is clearly better than what the Dolphins have. The Dolphins play a 3-4 front, so you're going to get the opportunity to gash them a little bit. Jerome Baker, the linebacker, number 55, I think is a good player. Roquan McMillan, is another guy. He kind of plays as their Sam linebacker. So it's big bodies up front. Not really. It's kind of like what playing the Giants when you used to back in the day. They have those big bodies. They're young bodies. Christian Wilkins is their first-round pick from this year. So we'll see how they hold up. Teams had some success running the ball inside. There was a lot of movement that I saw in that Ravens game, and the Ravens are a power team with a good offensive line. So I have a feeling you'll see some downhill runs with Zeke. I think you'll get Pollard out there on the edge a little bit in some space, and they'll have some success doing that. That'll be a nice way. They're going to need a little balance here to kind of make things work.
All right, that's all the time we got, Mick.
Look, 81 runs against them. Yeah. But a lot of that has to do when you get in the fourth quarter and you're up by 30 points. You run the ball.
Right.
They've given up 391 yards, but here's the key thing. They're also giving up 4.8 a carry.
That's it, yeah.
So there's a lot of carries because of what the score is, but
they get wore down too.
That's 4.8 a carry.
All right, we'll see if Zeke eats. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for all the phone calls. We'll catch you Friday to wrap up the week on Talkin' Cowboys. The break is next.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?